Well, hello everyone. It is Friday, December the 10th, 2021. I am Dale Delbridge, Benchmark Realty, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. It is your status chat. We have the numbers and we'll go over them. But I have to say, we're ended our SEC regular season, and next time we have a couple of bowl games coming up. They filter them in between now and the final bowls that we go in the national championship. We have Bama playing at the tail end of December, and we'll have that after, of course, Christmas and the holidays there. And so in between Christmas and New Year, we'll have those bowls, and we'll get to them. Hopefully Bama will represent the SEC and come home with another national championship. So what do you say we get into our center segment, which I think is pretty good information to have.
As with any story we bring to you from the internet in a status chat, you can find the link to that story in the description of the status chat over on the YouTube page. Now, this one is brought to you from National Mortgage News by Brad Finkelstein, December 9, 2021. The headline reads, "Mortgage borrowers posted an annual gain of 31% in home equity in the third quarter." Homeowners with a mortgage gained over 31% in equity on a year-over-year basis in the third quarter, providing them with a buffer against foreclosure as pandemic-related forbearances wind down, CoreLogic said. Now, if you were a regular watcher of the status chat back in September, we were looking at news that was saying, well, we're going to wind down, these programs are winding down. How many people will get right with their mortgage and exit that special program? And at the time, I think we read that about 70 some odd percent had already exited this forbearance and gotten right with their mortgage holder. So that's what we're talking about there. Now, rising home values also drove the share of borrowers underwater on their mortgage to a 12-year low of 2.1%. Now, let me flip that number just a little bit. That says if 2.1%, a 12-year low, I'll repeat that, were underwater, then that means that people with mortgages, 97.9% of the people with mortgage are not underwater, which means they have more equity in their home than the loan is. So what does that mean? Well, if you're one of those people that over the last year told me, Dell, I don't really want to buy a home right now because the market is sky high and I just have a feeling everything's going to collapse and fall out and I'm going to be able to cash in on someone else's misery of losing their home. Well, this number would seem to suggest that 97.9% of the people who do have a mortgage are not behind, not underwater. They still own more. They have a value in it. And when you have value in your home, you're more likely to keep up with it than if you're underwater and you want to do the walk away bit that people did back in 2008 or so and through 2010. It didn't clear away just right away. So that's a good sign, I think, for it. And if you don't own your home, you just missed out on 31% equity growth year over year, third quarter, which is what this is about. Now, not only have equity gains helped homeowners more seamlessly transition out of forbearance and avoid a distress sale, that's your foreclosure sale, but they've also enabled many to continue building your wealth. Well, I hate to sound too real estate-y, but if you're waiting to buy a home, you're missing out on the equity gains that you get from owning a home. Now, not all real estate goes up in value, but I think it's pretty fair to say that a safe percentage of it does increase in value over time. So you're missing out building your wealth if you haven't bought a home. And if you want to buy a home, you need to call me. You know what you need to do. I'm not going to badger you like a high-pressure type salesperson. I'm just telling you, if you want to build wealth, and most people, a lot of people don't know this, but most people's wealth in the United States is based upon their equity in their home. It's not based upon their retirement or private investments on other levels with other entities, other things. It's tied up in their home, and that's where most people's net worth is. Now, third quarter 21 annual average home equity gains. Let's look at this chart. I'm going to slide it up a little bit. You'll see Tennessee, if you were one of those persons who had a mortgage and a home, year over year, This article says you would on average have a $53,000 positive equity. Now you don't necessarily have the money unless you sell that home, but you're worth $53,000 more on average in Tennessee if you owned a home. And now let's slide this up a little bit. I want to keep Tennessee in view. CoreLogic estimated that 1.2 million borrowers had to exit the forbearance programs by the end of September. Approximately 63% of homeowners have a mortgage on their property. Let's flip that number and put it in perspective. If 63% of people have a mortgage, that would imply that about 37% of people own their homes outright. Compared with the third quarter of 2020, this group had a collective equity gain of over $3.2 trillion for an average of $56,700 per borrower. Now, we see Tennessee has $53,000 gain over this period, and the national average is $56.7 thousand. And if we slide up, we see a lot of these high tax states are the ones that also have high real estate. 96,000 gain. Well, if you happen to be one of those people that decide that the taxes are too much for you and you want to migrate to, say, to Tennessee, Texas, or Florida, you can cash out that home and come in. And that's one of the things that we've talked about many times about these cash customers selling out where they're at and coming to Tennessee to make use of our no income tax in our beautiful, beautiful state that we have here. So let me slide this on down to this portion. At the end of the third quarter, 1.2 million underwater homes were underwater, a 5.7% drop from the second quarter. That's just 3 months previous. Virtually unchanged on a unit basis, 28.9% decline from the third quarter a year previous, when 1.6 million homes were in negative equity position. That means over the year, the average home gained about $56,000 in home equity, 31%, and we took about 400,000 homes out of the underwater condition because of those equity gains. So we're actually moving in the right direction, I think. On an aggregate basis, the value of the property in negative equity was approximately $276.2 billion at the end of the third quarter, and up approximately $8.2 billion or 3% from the $2.68 billion in the second quarter. But this was down year over year by approximately the same amount, $8.3 billion or 2.9% from the year's previous $284.5 billion. So it looks like our housing industry is going very strong. We're bagging equity growth of about 31% just in a year. And if we want to look at this last little bit, if home prices were to rise by 5%, now what do we know about inflation that we're enjoying right now due to all this printed money? If home prices were to rise by 5% from where they were at the end of the third quarter, this one, an additional 45,000 homes would return to positive equity. They'll come out from being underwater. But if they dropped by 5%, if our home values lose a 5%, then 191,000 more would be underwater. So I don't know what percent. I know how I would bet on whether or not home prices are going to rise by 5% based upon the cost of energy going up what it has, and that goes in everything we buy. So I think real estate is still a good option for you. If you don't own your home now, call me, and we'll see if we can't fix that for you. So anyway, let's return you to the status chat. Let's look at the numbers over this week and see what we got going on. Appreciate you watching it.
Well, now that we got all that stuff out of the way, let's look at last week's numbers. In the opportunities in Real Scout system, we had 94.23, which was down over the previous period. We also had 44.26 in the under contract still showing, also down just a little bit. And we had a ratio between those two of 47%. This week of the 10th of December 2021, we had 92.49 in the opportunities, which was down over the previous period. 43.52 in the under contracts still showing, so we're still holding on to them. And we have a ratio at the integer level remained unchanged at 47%. So we are winding out 2021, and 2022 can be here none too soon. And we look forward to it. Remember, if you want to sell, call Dale to sell. If you're looking to buy, we can handle some of that too. If you have land that you wish to market, well, you can call me with that as well. And I'll put that in there in that particular function as well. Do a little bit of land, not everybody does. And what else? You just know who to call. Call Dale to sell. Thank you for watching. Have a happy holiday season and stay safe.